My life has been largely around community-based work and about cultural heritage work, telling the stories of people whose stories haven't been told before, but also about bettering the life of a broader cross-section of the other 96% who are not the wealthy of the world. I've had the privilege to work with wonderful people. One of them is Joe Ritchie. He's a billionaire who made his money through options trading. And I'm working in Malawi with the urban poor, with responsible tourism, with trying to actually work with the informal sector. He doesn't do it for money, he does it as a patron. And he said to me, I absolutely hate everything about the corporate world. I hate the suspended ceiling, I hate the air conditioning ducts, the floor, the blinds, the vertical blinds. I just can't see myself living in that environment. And he said, I want an architecture that you can smell, you can touch, and you can taste. And he says, we don't get it in our society because we over-engineer everything. If I've got to actually make a rusty wall, I don't want Core 10. I want it left out in the rain so it actually acquires a patina and a pattern that's on its own. And he believes people should work in an environment that's like home, and it should be an enabling environment, and it should be a pleasure to use. Good ideas are made when you're hanging out around a casita type situation. So how can we neutralize all of that? So we started to form two ideas. One was edicules of space. The other one was the idea of ripping out the ceiling and putting vaults through the top of the ceiling. We started to do some drawings, and I started to articulate that if you make edicules of space, which are just cupboards that define four corners, but they open at the corners, and you go and look at Oak Park and you have a look at what Frank Lloyd Wright in his studio did, and you make the corners fly, you can suddenly make these internal worlds where you put the Afghan carpet, where you have that lamp that gives you that ambient light, it gives you an extra glow, and it's also where you take the artifacts that have been lying around that no one's noticed, and you suddenly make them special because they've got a place to be. Basically, I was a student of the 60s, so I came into apartheid. And instead of being a political activist, I went and lived with living cultures before apartheid got to them. So I learnt about their rituals, their placemaking, and it shifted my dimension away from the Anglophile Christian Judaic view we brought up in, to actually realize that the future constituency of people I was going to be designing for actually had different perceptions of space, of home, of the world, of the felt, of the place out there. So that sparked off a lifetime commitment to trying to understand what Africans think of space making. In Ethiopia, we're trying to save this fantastic area that's 30 miles long from destruction, and these are sketches of mine where you go into these mountains. These are sketches of how the peasants live, learning from them. This is this environment. It's not only an environment, but there's 27 churches in the pinnacles that you get to, and we're trying to actually save this area from developers and from unscrupulous intervention, because it's a resource that is irreplaceable. And what we're looking at is we formed a company called Light Earth Design. We're taking the timbral vaulting structures of Mapungubwe, and we're trying to see how we can extend that palette and how it can enable not just the local people, but the people who are putting money into these projects. There's always a school and a clinic for the local community as well. And so what we did is we decided just to look at nature and turn to nature for all our inspiration. So those vaults work according to nature's forces. A tree and a plant grows a branch or a stem for reasons of economy, not for reasons of aesthetic. And then we wanted to make a building where the components could be made from unemployed men and women who got trained in a skill. And the nice thing is a feeling of it being ancient, and therefore it has a quality which people it's benign, they take to it very easily. Different types of building which cross the boundary. That first boundary was us as architects just getting off our pedestal and engaging in an activist way, but with respect for just what normal people really want, and you'll be surprised what you can learn from that. This is a Leap Secondary School in Diepsloot, which has really got to do with the culture of teaching, and how instead of them just being in a farmer's weekly shed, you can create a different world just out of the earth. It's important that you just question where you're going to put your energy into, and then what are you going to do. And you can move outside the comfort zones of the normal stereotype. You know, if you want to do houses in a golfing estate and do private houses for the wealthy, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think you can put your skills to a far more beneficial role in a broader context.